When you're working with others that are also using Revit, at some point you'll need to link their model into your project so that you can coordinate your work with theirs. Let's practice this by loading in an architectural model into this Revit project. So in order to be able to start, we're going to come in here to the Insert tab, select on Insert, and then come over to Link Revit. And this is going to allow us to link in a Revit file into our project. Now the one we're going to link in is going to be called Architect. So go ahead and select on that. And now probably the most important part about this process is this that says positioning. Right now it's set to auto center to center. And what we really want it to be is to auto origin to origin. In fact, there's really two different ones that ideally, if you're going to be linking in an architectural model that you'll want to use, it's either going to be origin to origin or by shared coordinates. For the most part, you're probably going to be using origin to origin unless you and your architect both agree to use the shared coordinates. But to make a long story short on this, the origin to origin, what it's going to allow you to do is that you'll both be sharing the same point on your screen. So you'll be able to bring their model in and not really have to worry about it moving around should they make changes. And vice versa is true as well. So if you end up making changes to your model and they link your model into their project, they won't have to worry about it moving around. They'll know that it will always update at the same point and you'll always be working at the same location and space. So go ahead and set that to origin and click on Open. After a couple of seconds, we can see that it started to bring something in. Now we can't see all of our building just yet, and part of that is visibility graphics. And the other part of that is the fact that currently we're working inside of a structural discipline, and a big part of this building that we just brought in is architectural. So if we want to be able to change that part of it, we can look underneath Properties there on the left-hand side, scroll down a little bit on the list until you see Discipline. And right now it says Structural. If we would change it to architectural, we'd probably be able to see just about the entire building, or at least anything that wasn't shut off in the visibility graphics. But the key thing here is going to be to move this down until we see this word right here that says Coordination. If we turn on Coordination, and then either move your mouse over here or just click on Apply, we'll start to see more of this building that we just linked in. The next thing we should do is just go ahead and take a look at this in a 3D view, so we have a better idea of what it is that we've brought in. So far, we can kind of see the outline of our building. Once again, I'll point out that it's probably a deal with the structural being on as opposed to the coordination view, which shows both architectural and structural. So go ahead and change that to be coordination. We'll see a little bit more get added to it. So this is what just got linked in. Now, there's going to be two more things we're going to need to change after we've linked this model into our project. And the first thing is going to be, if we go back to our first floor plan or to our second floor plan, either one's going to be just fine. We're going to look for these elevation tags. Now, the elevation tags, as long as they're sitting right there, aren't going to allow us to be able to see the entire building if we went to the east elevation or the south elevation. And the logic behind that is the fact that it's currently sort of inside of the building. So let's just move this out so that we can see in this direction and be able to see everything in our elevation. And we'll need to do the same thing with our north elevation tag by just windowing around it, clicking and then dragging it to the outside, and doing the same thing here with this elevation tag and just clicking and dragging it to the outside. So now we'll be able to see from essentially right about here over in this direction and be able to see the whole building if we would go to an elevation view. So since we've went ahead and moved our elevation tags, let's go ahead and come into an elevation view, in this case the south elevation view, and take a look at our building. This is what the architectural looks like so far. And one thing that they do have different than what we have is the fact that they've already put in their floor-to-floor heights here. Right now, their entry level is at 0, and I believe that our floor plan is as well. But I don't believe that ours happens to be at the same elevation as theirs. For what it's worth, theirs happens to be in metric. Ours is in architectural, or also known as imperial units. So right now, theirs is saying it's at 3,800, which is the metric dimension. And if we move over here toward the middle and zoom in, we can see these are our levels which are currently embedded in the project. Our level 1 happens to be at the same elevation, but we need to go ahead and move our level 2 up to match where their level 2 is going to be at. So if you select on their level 2, or actually on our level 2, and then click and just sort of drag it up, it'll kind of snap into place at the next floor level. And we can see that we now have our level in at the 12'6" mark, which happens to be the same dimension as what they have theirs set at. And from here on out, we would need to come in and start to create our own levels by coming in underneath our different structure tabs and then selecting on level over here right above datum, and then just draw in each and every level for our view. And by doing that, we would then be able to start to place our structural components in and start to do our work. So as you can see, linking in the architectural background / Revit model is really an easy process, but we may need to make a few adjustments to our work as well as the visibility properties in order to be able to make it useful.